Greetings and Merry Christmas on what will be Christmas week. It is Friday, December 17th, 2021, and I've got a lot to share as far as holiday festivities and parties and whatever have you. And I'm most proud of Batavia for the outstanding manner in which the community has decorated itself, both in the residential neighborhoods and specifically in downtown along the Riverwalk and the Fox River banks. It's probably as good as it's ever been, and I'm just very, very proud of all the volunteer effort and all the businesses that spent money kind of dashing themselves up. It is really very good to see, and I heard nothing but very complimentary things about it. So thanks to everybody in the Batavia business community and from the community in general who has stepped forward and done their part to make Batavia's Christmas in 2021 a very special and meaningful way. Needless to say, the world that we live in is full of all kinds of controversy and debate and indecision, and it's good that a community like ours can kind of put its eyes and ears into the heavens above and its thoughts and minds and memories of good things. And we are so very, very fortunate to have the town we have and to have the people living here who are here, because they are truly people who have really wanted to make this town and this world a very special place. And from that we are able to do things like this Christmas decoration that we are having. I wanted to suggest and publicly thank Roy and Jeannie Bailey and their family and those who are on their committee for the phenomenal job they did this past week in getting the Christmas toy distribution program in Batavia distributed and into the hands of families who truly needed the support. This was the 72nd year that the community of Batavia has done this, and I've told the story before. It started in 1950 with the Batavia Fire Department under then Chief Richter repairing broken toys, dolls that only had one arm, or bicycles that the tires were bent, or toy trucks that half of them were broke up. And the firemen would repair that, and then on the night before Christmas, the members of the Batavia Rotary would step up and they would go around to families that had been identified as people who could use some toys and would just leave them on the front steps. And it was like, a very unique thing, and over the years it's progressed and we've kind of professionalized it a lot. And this past year, this last Sunday out at the old Sam's Club, we had the distribution and it went seemingly without any particular incident. We had 3 Batavia police officers out there, Sergeant Johnson, Officer Gorshey, and Officer Webb. And they did a wondrous job of communicating and sharing and talking to all the folks. And we had some people who we were fearful were going to try to crash the line, so to speak, and come in from other towns and try to seek toys that were not for Batavia residents only. And that was never the case. I think the presence of the police there kept everybody at a bay that needed to be kept out, and we were able to distribute the toys, which were totally all donated by private funds by a bunch of very warm-hearted Batavians who stepped forward and wrote checks of various amounts, $500 to $2,500 to several $1,000s were donated. And then we had a lot of people make smaller donations, and those were countless also, and we had some of the service clubs step forward and help us out. So it was the community yet coming together, and illustrates how good things are in Batavia. Also, I'd like to thank publicly United Way for their Adopt a Family program that they've done this year to provide food and gifts to families that otherwise may not be able to have them on Christmas. And they've been quietly doing their thing over in the BEI property at First and Houston Street, and they have done First and Water Street rather, and they have done some very nice things this year. So again, that's another group that we really want to do some thank yous to. And last night, the Batavia Police Department participated in the program called Shop with a Cop. And they served several Batavia families that they knew of that were in tight situations. and he took some folks to local stores, and they did some shopping, which were then funded by the police and their particular donators and fund assets. So again, without taxpayer involvement, and Batavia, as I say, really is doing a great job of taking care of their own. And then lastly, I'd like to really go on record as commending the Batavia Ministerial Association under Eric Landon, who's the pastor at Covenant Church. He's the current president. And they did a real nice service last Sunday night at the Peg Bond Center involving a number of the churches. And surprisingly, a lot of it was done with music. And that was a big hit. And the size of the crowd for, a December Sunday night, the 12th of December, to have several hundred people show up for it. It was very good to see, and there wasn't places for people to sit. You had to stand. The program lasted about 23 minutes, but I think everybody that was involved left there with a very strong feeling of whatever religious belief they have, that they were thankful that they lived in the community they did, and everybody was truly impressed with the talent and the music specifically that was given, and the brief messages on a cold night outside that were given by 4 or 5 Batavia ministers, all rose to the occasion and did a really nice job. So my hat's off to the Batavia Ministerial Association. And we are currently working with them to plan what they used to be the 12th night Christmas tree burning ceremony. And it's been a number of years since we've done that in Batavia, but it looks like on January, I believe it's going to be the evening of January 6th, we are going to have a brief ceremony, again, not long because it's in the winter time, but we're going to bring together a group of old, by that time, used Christmas trees, and we're going to burn them, and there's a religious message that goes along with that exercise that the Ministerial Association will be sharing with the crowd, and we're going to do it on the site of the former First Baptist Church at Wilson Street and Washington Avenue. And the Batavia Fire Department is going to be there with their trucks and hoses ready. We're not anticipating we're going to have any fire problem, but just to keep everything safe and sound, we're going to have them there. And so, again, that would be something that if you're an old-time Batavian, you remember that used to be a very popular thing to do on the 12th night of Christmas, and we're trying to revive that and build the spirit of ecumenicalism where all the churches of every various religion come together and share in their beliefs and try to gain greater understanding of each other and their thoughts on the world around them. So all that makes Batavia, again, something that is very positive. On the downside, I want to just make a comment that it would appear this year that the Batavia Fire and Police Departments are heading toward seemingly what will unfortunately be remembered as very, very, very busy years. They may, in many instances, be records of the amount of activity that they've been asked to respond in and to participate in. On the police side, we've had unfortunately, a lot of drug-related activity. We've also had, quite a bit of problems on the technology world, in the world of the computer, where there's been a lot of crime fired at Batavia residents who, innocently responded to something and then found their credit card or their bank account or something was breached because of some action they took on the computer. So we've spent a lot of time dealing with that. And Batavia right now, unfortunately, I think we, along with some of our neighboring communities, are being identified as, quote unquote, this is coming from the law enforcement world, shopping centers of affluence. And that is that many of the people who are taking home deliveries are having their packages stolen, and it's being done by people coming from outside our area because they tell us that anything they can probably lift off of a doorstep in Batavia is probably something that has some value, or they can spin it off or resell it on the computer or whatever. So that's a situation that we are dealing with now also at the Batavia Police Department. So that's kind of the downside of life in Batavia at the moment. But I just think we should paint the total picture here as we talk about life in our town. We are very, very fortunate to continue to find that we constantly have people stepping forward and wanting to do kind deeds and nice actions. And I am ever so thankful for that, because they go so far, as I've seen this year, in providing special little favors or services to people who don't have a family, who need something, who step up and really do stuff that is of importance. So thank you to everybody in town, and thank you for really truly making the holiday season a very special and meaningful part of the year that it is. And let me end by just talking for a few minutes about the current vaccination COVID issue. I was part of a meeting last week with a number of the regional leaders. We did it on a Zoom call, including the mayor of Chicago, and there's a lot of concern about how rapidly spreading some of the latest versions of the COVID situation are, and it would appear that some of them have brought themselves into the Chicagoland area, and we've had reports of people dying and whatever, so it doesn't appear that the day for us to not wear masks anymore is yet here. And I would encourage you to do that if you're going to specifically be out and about and in a store or at a gathering with a lot of other people. If as long as you can get with most people who have been through the shots, it seems to be the opinion that things won't be too bad. But there was been some surveys done on how many people are out there that really haven't had the shot yet, and it still is a pretty good number in the Chicagoland region. So please, if you haven't gotten a shot, consider taking one, because it does seem to be a hedge against COVID, and we are fighting it. It's a battle yet going on, and Batavia to this point has now had some beloved residents who have become the fatalities of this, and it's a very sad moment for those families that are struck by this, because it's specifically hitting, it looks like, the older people, some who've maybe moved away someplace else, others that have been in nursing homes for several years, and suddenly the COVID thing gets to them, and that's kind of the end of the day. So please, again, be very, very careful with that. And that being said, I also participated, I didn't participate, but I sat in a meeting last Tuesday at the King County Board, where there was quite a debate going on by the county board about the opening and the reported closing of the Kane County Vaccination Hub at the old Sam's Club on Randall Road in Batavia. And it was determined that the county board had never taken that action to do that. That had been a discussion at a committee meeting, and that the county board in totality didn't seemingly be in favor of this idea. So right now, I think it's now being suggested that the Kane County Vaccination Hub at the Sam's Club will be open at least through the end of January. They're going to have another meeting this coming week to talk about this further. They started a meeting this past week, but the idea was not on the agenda, and so the state's attorney's office quickly alerted the county board that they had to do this at an open public meeting that had an agenda that had been published and whatever. So now they're going to have, I believe, a meeting on this coming week, and they're going to then, it will be on that agenda, and they will talk about it and potentially take some actions. But I want to commend County Board Chairperson Corinne Pirog and many of them who joined with us, including our Batavia representative on the county board, Dave Brown. They've all been very alert and observant of this whole thing, and have been some of the leaders to help keep the Sam's Club an open and occupied and viable place for people to get shots if they need it. So I'll have more about this in the future, but that's all for the moment. Next week, this day will be Christmas Eve, so I won't be doing a report on that date, but we'll probably be back the next week thereafter, and I'll prepare something, and we will give a report about what happened over the holiday season. And so on behalf of the Batavia community, the Batavia City Council, those of us in the city government, I'd like to wish each and every one of our Batavia residents a very, very Merry Christmas and a very happy and prosperous and healthy New Year in 2022. And let us move forward on the spirit that we have begun, And knowing that here in Batavia, our love for each other is very strong, and that many people now tell me they find people that they've known for many years that they never realized how strongly they felt about those people. And so Batavia is just a place where nice things happen, and we want to keep it that way. And we appreciate very, very much all the good stuff that is happening in this town. I feel very fortunate to be the mayor in a place where there's so much kindness and efforts to support one another that we now see in Batavia. So on that note, I'll end, and again, very, 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 very much wish you a Merry Christmas and a healthy and happy 2022. See you later.